Welcome everyone to the Savvy Sales Lady Live. And we were supposed to go live at 4, but my 2:00 coaching client asked if she could move her coaching session to 4 today. So that's what we do. We pivot, don't we? We flip-flop. So I'm doing her coaching session at 4, and I'm doing the Savvy Sales Lady at 2:30 Eastern Standard Time. So I want to welcome everyone that's viewing right now. And we are live on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. And today we're going to talk about the silent meeting. We've all been there, right? We've all been there. I've got 5 solutions to share with you. So bear with me as I get my notes, and we can talk about the silent meeting. So have you ever sat across from a prospect or been on Zoom? The prospect is sitting with their arms folded, and every question you ask is met with a short, quick answer. You ask about their business and they say it's fine or no issues. You ask about challenges and they shrug and said, well, we're managing. You try to spark conversation and man, does it feel like pulling teeth. You know what I'm talking about. The resisted and closed down prospect. Maybe they took that sales call with you as a favor to their boss. I've had that happen. And they're totally closed down. So if you've been there, you know that sinking feeling, right? How am I ever going to sell to this person if they won't even talk to me? So today, I'm going to give you the questioning techniques to follow to break through the silence and to lower resistance and to, spark a real, genuine conversation. So let's first talk about the frustration. Here's why silent meetings happen. Number 1, guarded prospects. Some people have had bad experiences with sales reps, and so they think all sales reps are going to be pushy. So they enter the meeting with walls already up, and you can almost feel those walls, right? Number 2, they're unclear about the intent. So they may not understand why the meeting matters, or worse, they feel it's just another sales pitch that they have to sit through, especially if the boss is telling them to take the meeting. Number 3, well, that's poor questions. Excuse me. Poor questions. Number 3, poor questions. If your questions are too broad, like what keeps you up at night? I absolutely hate that question because everybody uses it. It's just so overused. So don't ask that question because chances are the prospect is thinking the same thing. How many times am I going to be asked that question? So you're going to get vague, generic answers. Try to be clever and original with your questions. Number 4, if you ask closed questions, you're going to get short answers. So, what's a closed-ended question? It's a question that can be answered with a yes or no. There are times that closed-ended questions are a good strategy to use. But when you're trying to get a silent prospect to open up, you want to eliminate all closed-ended questions because you're trying to get them to have a conversation. So as a result, the meeting feels dead on arrival. But here's the good news. Silence isn't rejection. It's just an opportunity to guide the conversation differently. Okay? So let me give you a mindset shift. Check your mindset. When you're in that situation, check your mindset. A silent prospect isn't a hostile one. So just keep that in mind. They're not a hostile prospect. They're just cautious. They don't trust you yet. So you have to build up that trust by creating some rapport. And don't start the meeting with chit-chatting about golf or anything like that. Start with business. Once the business is done, then you can talk about golf or the football game or whatever. But in the beginning, I always get down to business because people's time is valuable. So if you assume they don't want to buy, you'll push harder and shut them down further. So don't make assumptions. It could be this person is an introvert and they have to warm up to you. So keep that in mind too. So instead, think of yourself as a detective, not a pusher. Your job is to gently uncover what they're protecting. That's what you're trying to find out. What are they protecting? All right, let's move into the next section, the solutions. Okay. Solution number 1 is to ask layered questions. Instead of saying or asking, what challenges are you facing? Try, I noticed in your industry report that rising costs are a big concern. How is that playing out for your business right now? This shows research and invites them to talk in specifics. It invites them to uncover and to reveal what their biggest concerns are in rising costs. So use this in your industry, rewrite it for your product or service. But this is a good layered question to ask instead of what challenges are you facing? Okay, number 2. Solution number 2 is third-party framing. Use stories about clients. Other clients I work with often struggle with onboarding new customers smoothly. Does that sound familiar, or is your situation different? See, this lowers defenses because you're not putting them on the spot. You're highlighting a story from other clients that you've worked with without saying, now here's what we can do for you, X, Y, and Z. You're using stories of other clients you've worked with to highlight how you can eliminate the struggle of onboarding new customers. Okay, let me say that again. Other clients I work with often struggle with onboarding new customers smoothly. Does that sound familiar, or is your situation different? However he answers that question or she answers that question, you can then pivot and talk about how your clients experienced a smooth onboarding with your company without going through the benefits and features. Does that make sense? Okay, let's move to number 3. Number 3 is permission-based questions. And you're just going to say, would it be okay if I asked a few deeper questions about your current process? You're asking permission without saying, can I get your permission? So, would it be okay if I asked a few deeper questions about your current process? Chances are they're not going to say no. Now, this is a close-ended question, all right? But positioning it in the right framework of the conversation can work strategically. Remember, I said at the beginning that you want to use closed-ended questions in strategic areas in the conversation. This could be one of those because this now gives the prospect control, and control makes people feel relaxed. And that's what you want. Okay, before we get into the next 2, let's take a quick break. I'll be right back. If you like the Savvy Sales Lady Live, you're really going to like the Savvy Sales Lady newsletter. It's delivered in your inbox once a week. Why don't you go ahead and subscribe? The link is in the show notes below so you won't miss this upcoming newsletter. I give you one tip to focus on each week to implement immediately into your sales day. Why not sign up and learn just a little bit more? Okay, thanks for coming back. This is Christine Harrington, the Savvy Sales Lady Live, and we're talking about the silent meeting. Oh my gosh, we've all been through a few of those. So the number 4 tip is to use curiosity follow-ups. Now, when the prospect gives a short answer, don't move on. You want to gently expand. So if the prospect says, we're managing, you're going to say, that's good to hear. I'm curious, when you say managing, what does that look like day to day for you and your team? You see, you're not just going on to the next question. What you're doing is you heard their answer, we're managing, and now you're trying to understand what that means. So curiosity signals you're listening, not pitching. So that's why I love curiosity questions. I'm curious. Tell me, how is your team reacting being out on the field and attending meetings remotely? How's that working out for them? Or whatever it is that you want to say. All right. Tailor it to your specific product and situation. Now, number 5 is silence as a tool. You can actually use silence as a tool. So sometimes the best way to spark conversations is don't fill in the gap. So don't fill the gap. When you pause after a question, people often reveal more to break the silence. Now, I have a technique called the 5-second rule. And it goes like this. You're in this conversation and the prospect is expanding on something you ask, and then they pause. Now, what most people do is they start to feel uncomfortable in that silence. So they'll jump in and they'll ask the prospect another question. I want to caution you from doing that. Instead, count in your head 5 seconds before responding or asking another question. Here's why. I learned this from a psychologist. Often within 3 to 4 seconds, the speaker will start speaking again. Sometimes people need a few moments to collect their thoughts in order to continue talking. Allow them to do that. And after 5 seconds, if they haven't resumed talking, then ask a question pertaining to what it is that they were saying. And this often happens with people that are introverts. They'll start talking and then they'll pause and they're recollecting their thoughts in order to speak more in depth. If you interrupt that silence, what you're doing is interrupting their thought process. So the thought process may be lost. That's why it's important to give them that time. Okay? So let me give you an example. Okay? It's just a quick story. Years ago, I met with a CEO who gave me nothing but one-word answers. And I could feel the meeting just slipping away. Instead of panicking, like I had done one other time, I had a plan in place now. I tried a third-party question. And I just said this. Some leaders I work with say sales turnover is killing productivity. Others say it's rising cost. Which side do you lean into? And that cracked him open. He leaned back, laughed, and said both. Let me tell you what's going on here. And he was off to the races. That one simple question. So one smart question turned a dead meeting into a 45-minute conversation, and you can make that happen too. So here's the takeaway. Silent meetings don't have to stay silent. With the right questioning techniques, layered questions, third-party framing, permission-based asking, and curiosity follow-ups, and even strategic silence, you can turn guarded prospects into engaged partners. Now, if this episode hit home and you're tired of silent meetings, I'd like to invite you to book a Sales Lifeline coaching session, and we'll craft questions specific to your industry, product, and service. And remember, sales frustration isn't permanent. With the right approach, every silence can become an opportunity. You can find the link to book a Sales Lifeline coaching session. It's a mouthful sometimes. A Sales Lifeline coaching session in the description area below. And if you're curious to learn more, watch this brief video. I'm like you, a regular salesperson who bumped up against trying to cold call and failed, trying to close deals and failed, getting all tongue-tied when asking for the sale. Major fail. I've been in sales for 4 decades, and I've failed a lot. Think about this. I've had 40 years of rejection hitting me in the face. But in spite of all the rejection, I built 3 $30 million books of business over a 40-year time span. Not 1, but 3. How did I do this? I cracked the code for cold calling. Over the past 11 years, I have coached and trained hundreds of salespeople just like you on my cold calling system. But hey, why should you listen to me? Here's why.
Hi, this is Olivia Mitchell with Crouching Tigers. I hired Christine to cold call for my company, and she was able to sell 26 accounts in 9 days. I actually had to ask her to put the brakes on it as we needed to hire more staff. You will definitely benefit from Christine's course.
And there are many more testimonials. Drop the word coach in the comments below, and I'll send you a link to schedule a coaching session. And I'll share a few of my cold calling techniques that you can use immediately. Cold calling doesn't need to feel embarrassing. I can give you the words to use, plus the technique and the system, so you'll feel and sound like a professional. Why not learn a few powerful but simple tips to help you close sales? Type coach in the comment section below, and I'll reply with the link so you can book a time that's best for you to schedule your 30-minute coaching session. That's all you need to do to begin winning again. Stay savvy. Thank you all for staying with me to the very end. And as I always say when I close out, stay savvy. I'll see you Thursday. Bye-bye.